Welcome back to another Buckeye State of the Union live here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center following Ryan Day's press conference today. Lots to get into, including two Buckeyes have lost their black stripe. We'll get to that in a minute. This segment is presented by Hoggy's, the best barbecue in Columbus. Go ahead and check them out on Bethel Road. Get some great brisket. The weekend they've got smash burgers. I promise you, you will not be disappointed when you leave Hoggy's. It is the best barbecue in Columbus. But back to Ohio State football here. Ryan Day went through a lot today in his press conference. He gave us a lot of good nuggets, including two Ohio State players that lost their black stripes today. The first being freshman wide receiver Brock Boyd. He said he's been flashing, he has been twitchy, he can change directions in a hurry. He said his dad is a coach and that he plays that way as well. He can play different positions, and he has just done a great job with strong hands, running his routes, and being a technician as a young wide receiver, and it's been great to see him flash. Again, more encouraging signs are continuing to come out of this Ohio State wide receiver room, which is already known as the deepest room on this team, but potentially in the entire country. And then on the other side of the ball, linebacker Christian Allegro shedded his black stripe as well today. And something that Ryan Day said about Allegro was that he has played a lot of football. Ohio State brought in some experience from the transfer portal this year with some of their additions, and most of that was on defense because of so many departures to the NFL, like Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese, Caden McDonald. How do you replace those guys? It's really difficult too, especially when you have that attrition year over year with guys continually going to the NFL. So yes, you recruit well and you have young players, but also you need to age your team a little bit. You need to get some experience back in those rooms. And that was Ryan Day's philosophy with his staff this year in using the transfer portal to bring in guys like Christian Allegro and Earl Little. Terry Moore going to play again this year. He missed last season with an injury. Cam Calhoun, a young player coming in. All of these guys are going to be great additions for this Ohio State defense as they try to gel and figure out what this identity is going to be. Ryan Day said that the team does not have an identity yet. It's too early to tell. They first need to learn how to practice, and then they need to figure out their identity and grow into their personality. And that'll continue to go as Ohio State moves through the spring, into the summer, and then into fall camp, where they're really going to hit the road. But something that Ryan Day did say today with spring camp now, you're 6 practices in. You have a couple of Buckeyes who have shedded their black stripes. But he said they've been able to get 2 fields going and really get some work that it feels more like a preseason camp than it does spring practice because of the amount of guys that they're able to have out on the field with over 100 players. 51 new faces for Ohio State. So, yes, it's difficult to go ahead and figure everybody out because you have to grow into your identity. But Ryan Day said those 51 new faces were intentional. They were not just random guys that they said, hey, we need this experience over here, we need this experience over here. Ryan Day said it was intentional because there were pre-established relationships there. Whether it was Caleb Downs with Quay Rusall and James Smith, or even knowing Earl Little, or recruiting battles that maybe they didn't win on the front end, but now they're able to pick those guys up in the portal, or they just came recommended by coaches or players of that network of people that they know around the sport. Some of these guys grew up with them, like they said. You have the South Florida guys like Brandon Ennis and Jeremiah Smith. Like they've grown up knowing these guys like Earl Little. They played together. They went to camps together. They were in the same recruiting classes. So there's some pre-established relationships there that give Ohio State some testimony to bring back into this building. And that's what Ryan Day highlighted at Pro Day, where he was saying there's a blueprint here at Ohio State. There is a specific culture that Ohio State has to uphold and that standard, and they look at that very intricately with every single addition into this program, whether that is a coach, whether that is a player, or whether that's a recruit. Every single level is evaluated so intentionally by Ryan Day and the staff to make sure that it is going to be a culture fit, because Ohio State is not for everybody, Ryan Day said. You're not allowed to have a bad day here. And that's something that these guys, he said, 51 new faces, they've got to learn when they come into Columbus. This is not like every other place in college football. It's not like any other place in college football because you can't have a bad day. You're expected to win every single game. And there is a specific standard and culture that you must uphold as a Buckeye. So, again, very complimentary of Earl Little Jr. He said he has flashed on the defense. He said he's the first to go ahead and make tackles. He said he is just jumping off the screen so far in the spring, which is super encouraging to hear, especially on a defense that is losing Caleb Downs on the backside, where you wonder how you're going to replace him. Earl Little is going to do a great job. Davis Adigbodosin, he's gone out too. So again, you need replacements for these guys in the secondary. And Jalen McClain has done a great job so far. Earl Little has done a great job. But then also Jay Timmons, freshman cornerback from the Pittsburgh area. Jay Timmons has done a wonderful job so far in this spring. He was mentioned by Jeremiah Smith over the weekend. Ryan Day emphasized him again today. So again, things we look for in the spring when we're hearing from coaches and players. What name is continually coming up? Jay Timmons continues to be in conversations. Brock Boyd continues to be in conversations. Earl Little continues to be in conversations. These are all encouraging signs for Ohio State. And also for the Ohio State fan wondering, what's this team going to be? We've lost a lot on defense, you might say, as an Ohio State fan. But yes, it's been replaced. And this team is going to be in a good position as they continue to grow and to evolve. And Matt Patricia would echo that too, with confidence into that defense. And, also on that defensive side of the ball with Christian Allegro and Peyton Pierce at linebacker, that room needs to take a step forward this year too, which they're going to have opportunities to do. Riley Pettijohn, he's going to have an opportunity again to step up. So again, the name of this game on the defense for Ohio State is stepping up. And it was also the same thing mentioned on the offensive line where Austin Saraveld and Carson Hinsman have all done a great job being consistent. Luke Montgomery as well. And then you see a guy like Ian Moore who has stepped up a little bit more, and he's elevated his play this spring, Ryan Day said, but he's still looking for some of those younger guys to go ahead and take that step forward as well, because you've got to, again, elevate to that standard of play here at Ohio State. The offensive line was the position group that cost Ohio State a year ago. Now, this 4 out of 5 returning starters, can they take another step forward, or have we already seen the ceiling from this offensive line group? That is one of the biggest questions on offense. But now you might be wondering, why have we not heard Chris Henry Jr.'s name yet? He didn't lose his black stripe yet. That's no reason to panic. Ryan Day said everything that they've seen in recruiting from Chris Henry Jr. is translating to the football field. They're seeing everything. And again, he could be next to lose his black stripe, or it may take him a week or two. And that's okay, because Ryan Day said, just think of Emeka Ibuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and those guys as freshmen. When they're coming in, yes, they're highly touted, or a guy like Chris Olave maybe wasn't highly touted, but then as a freshman still found a way to make an impact on this Ohio State team. And he said Chris Henry Jr. might not start making an impact until the middle of the season like those other guys. Jeremiah Smith is not the case study for everybody else. Jeremiah Smith is different. But Chris Henry Jr. is different as well, but he's different in his own way. And so Jeremiah Smith was an Iron Buckeye when he came in here, and that's what Ryan Day highlighted today. And he said he earned the right to become a day one starter at Ohio State against Akron in 2024. Chris Henry Jr. still has time to go ahead and do that. It's 6 practices, and so there's no need to panic. There's just reason to be encouraged from this Ohio State wide receiver room with Jeremiah Smith. Kyle Parker bringing some maturity and synchrony with Cortez Hankton coming in both from LSU. Devin McEwen as the speedster. Then you have guys like Brock Boyd and Chris Henry Jr. that are going to be depth pieces that are looking to find their way onto the field as freshmen. But you know what? If it's not week 1, that's okay, because there's a full season to play. Ryan Day mentioned that there's going to be a little bit more depth, most likely, going to be played this year because of that schedule, understanding that they have to win games in the fourth quarter, that it really is a brutal schedule. So that is also something to watch for Ohio State too. And then I'll wrap up with this on the note of that difficult schedule and rotational guys. Here is the pace of play for Ohio State. It's been slower the last 2 years, but Ryan Day said his number one thing, efficiency. So if you're Ohio State and you want to be efficient, what is the best way that you can be efficient? That is the question that Ryan Day is asking his team, himself, and his coaches to say, what's the best way we can be efficient? If that requires playing fast, he said, we'll play fast. If that requires playing slow, then we will make sure that we're playing at a pace that makes us efficient. And the Buckeyes have been extremely efficient, but they've also, you might have felt like they've left another gear out on the field at some point. Ryan Day hopes to avoid that this year. Arthur Smith coming in, fresh perspective, fresh eyes, and Day said he's had an open mind to everything that Arthur Smith has had to say from his perspective, just coming in as completely new eyes. And that's been really helpful for him in the growing process, because he said he's an extremely intelligent coach and he understands the run game and the pass game both with an elite set of ball knowledge. And that is something that Ohio State is going to use, because Ryan Day has his offense, Arthur Smith has his, and you're going to marry them together and base it on the personnel that you have. And that's why I think that this offense from Ohio State this year is going to be extremely successful, efficient, and could be the number 1 unit in the country. If this offense wants to score 40 points a game this season, I think they'll be able to do that, even against that difficult of a schedule. Again, my name is Blake Biscardi with the Silver Bulletin, and this has been another Buckeye State of the Union after we've heard from Ryan Day. live from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We will see you next time.